New lens day, yet again.
What on earth is that, Russell? Your purchases are getting larger
They are.
by the day.
And older.
And older by
Well,
the day.
kind of.
It's going backwards.
Yeah, so
it's going
after
all F-mount.
That's the last thing. I got rid of all my F-mount lenses, then I bought the 105, now I've bought this, the 200 to 500, 5.6 VR. And I thought, well, what's on the market to get a wildlife lens for the Z mount at the moment?
Yeah.
The only options were really expensive.
Yeah.
And then there's the 200 500.
So I guess it was either that or one of the, is it the Sigma 150 to 600 or the Tamron?
Yeah, well, and there's the 100 to 400 Z
oh, yeah,
now, but that's $2,500
yeah.
and it doesn't reach that far. And if you want a more expensive wildlife lens, you have to pay almost double. If you want the 500 5.6 prime, that's twice as much as this.
Yeah.
And you don't know how much they've been used and what conditions.
It's so huge, you just
yeah.
keep banging it on everything.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So it was £300 more for a brand new one, because you can buy them still brand new, and that's what I did.
Is it weatherproof?
I don't think it is.
Right.
In certain areas it is, but when you extend the lens, that the rain can get in there, and then you suck it back into the lens. I am going to get a protection camouflage gear for it to serve two purposes: one, to be camouflaged, and two, to give protection, because it is really hard to, once it's on your light body.
And the third actually is so we can pose.
So I can pose with it and look cool. But yeah, so this will be really interesting to see how it adapts to the Z system.
Yeah.
Will it be sharp compared to the Z system glass we're used to?
Yeah.
How will the autofocusing system be? Because this is, you know, it's quite a wide range. And will it be able to focus as well?
Is it quite an old lens as well?
I think so.
It's been around a while, I guess, hasn't it?
I'll put the date it was created on the screen. Ding. Yeah, so we're going to compare it to, what are we going to compare it to?
So, a bit of a random test. We're going to compare it to the good old 70 to 200, even though it's a completely different range. 50 to 250 on the Z50, which I found in the past is a good performer. It'd just be interesting.
Yeah, we haven't got direct comparisons to compare it to, but it'll be interesting to see.
But that's never stopped us before, has it?
No, it's never stopped us before. But mainly interesting to see how it converts to the Z system.
Yeah.
Is it still worth buying this lens? Is it still worth getting it even second hand or used?
Yeah.
And you can carry it for me everywhere we go.
Thank you very much. It's been an honour and a pleasure, obviously.
So at 100% on both, you can't really tell any difference. Maybe slightly if you look at the screws here, maybe. So at 150% you can see the sharpness of you're shooting at 6.3. Even the cobwebs there, and the screws especially, they have a slight better edge. This is at 150%. So comparing it 6.3 to 7.1, there doesn't seem to be much difference. So I'd rather shoot with the extra light allowance to allow a lower ISO to get sharper images. And f8, I would say they're very similar to 6.3. So yeah, 6.3 is the sweet spot from these tests. Although shooting at 5.6 is still a viable option when you have lower light situations. Okay, so this is comparing the 200 to 500 versus 70 to 200 at exactly the same settings, shooting at 200, all the same settings. So you have to crop in 250%, and you can't see any difference. I can't see any difference in the quality of image here. They look identical, which throws some interesting questions. Obviously this is at 5.6 on the 70 to 200, and the obvious advantage, it can go down to 2.8 if in low light and for that depth of field. So 200 to 500, 500, and 70 to 200 at 200. All the other settings are the same. So the 70 to 200 can crop in 250% and still have a reasonably sharp image. So the 200 to 500 only has to crop in 100% to reach the same crop. And you can see it is sharper with the same settings, but obviously this is at 500. So with maximum crop ability on both, the 200 to 500 can crop in 200% on this picture and still have a reasonable sharp image, whereas you can crop in 250% with the 70 to 200. So here's the 70 to 200 versus the teleconverter, starting positions here. So you would see the teleconverter has a distinct advantage of being at 280mm. But remember, the 70 to 200 could crop in 250% and still have a sharp image. But you can only crop in 200% with the teleconverter, and it equals the same image. I'd actually say they're almost identical here. So therefore the teleconverter doesn't give any further advantage in sharpness, but it does get a better field of view, say if you're photographing birds. You can see our previous video for more details on this. Taking a quick look at the Z50 with a 50 to 250, it's a really good budget option. So the equivalent is 370mm on full frame. And when you crop in 200% on the Z50, the maximum I would say that you could crop in, and that's 140% on the Z7. They look very similar, although you can see the differences now that the 200 to 500 is a sharper image there. So obviously you can shoot at 500 and get much closer, and able to crop in much closer too. So I would say it's equivalent of using the 70 to 200 with its incredible crop power. It's probably about the same shooting with the Z50 and 50-250. Here's the example of the focusing at 500 from near to far, and most of the time it's okay. It's not lightning fast, but it does the job. The problem is we're in a complex scene, so trying to focus on this bird feeder here, an automatic focus, back button focus, it's just not finding it. And this is about 10 meters away from me, and I have to manually bring it in, and then it does come in. Just show you some examples that I've taken over the last few weeks. I've really enjoyed the experience. I want to show the power of what this 200 to 500 could do. I've cropped in, you can see here, I've cropped in quite significantly on this moon photo at 500 per second, f11, 400 ISO, and it's beautiful. You can even see the stars, which I couldn't see with my eyes. So this is one of my favourite examples. I found the most optimal settings for this lens to be able to crop in so far. I like to shoot about 1/60th, f5.6 is good, and ISO below 500, and this leaves the ability to be able to crop in so far, as you can see here, very significantly into the frame, produce a beautiful image. So here's an example where I've cropped in this far, and you can see it's pixelated and a bit noisy, and the robin was moving quite quickly. I shot at 1/400, 2500 ISO, and you can see the background is really pixelated. The robin itself is actually okay because it's brighter. As it's winter here in the UK, the days don't seem to get very bright. It's better to shoot in low shutter speeds and ISO when possible to be able to crop in so far. And as you can see, when you're in better light, this 200 to 500 is spectacular. The colours, the sharpness, the image rendition is beautiful. I can't imagine a sharper image and more beautiful image than that, to be honest. And this was at 200 per second, ISO 64, so obviously quite a clear, bright day there. Again, this is a 1/60th, f6.3, ISO 900, and I've cropped in quite considerably there as well. That's with the Z6. Another beautiful shot with the blue tip. Again, I cropped in very significantly with this one, 200 per second, 5.6, ISO 500, and it's beautiful.
So how did you think this compared with the 70 to 200?
How did what compare? What lens? Oh, sorry.
Didn't notice it.
No, it's camouflage. Sorry.
It was so camouflaged against me. You didn't even see it.
I just couldn't see it. No.
You got me then.
So when you extend it out,
Yeah.
look, all the birds run away.
Well, I can put another bit on that. Then you can't
But
zoom
you haven't
in
done
and
it yet
out.
either.
No.
Too much hassle. Anyway, sorry. Back to your question.
Sharpness. This is better than I thought it would be.
Right.
Because it's the 2015 launch.
Vintage.
It's a vintage lens. Even though I bought it brand new, I'm really happy with the quality of the pictures. I've got some stunning results with it, and it gets noisy quick.
Does it?
Because you're shooting at 5.6 or 6.1. Even in this light, because I like to. Well, you need to crop in with bird photography. You need to crop in 100% at least.
Yeah.
And so, and you can do that with lower shutter speeds using its optimal settings. Anything more than that, I probably wouldn't be so comfortable doing.
So you're happy with your purchase?
I'm really happy with it. I love the experience of it because I've got the camouflage gear, I've got my little hide. With the focusing, it is fast enough. It can be slow, but really the focusing is as good as the body can allow.
Right.
So your Z6, Z7, the problems you got with it already is going to be the problems with this lens as well. So we're on a Z9, I can imagine this is flawless.
So all we can do is imagine as far as the Z9 is concerned.
Exactly. But I've been pre-focusing, so I know where the birds are going to roundabouts be. So if you're trying to focus on such a small area of the frame, you've got to go for the benefit of the doubt and just fine-tune it yourself sometimes. But I do use a tripod.
Yeah.
Because I have my little setup with a tripod.
It's too heavy to hold, basically.
Yeah. Again, these things I'm learning. And I haven't done any moving subjects yet with this.
I'm guessing if you wanted to track something that's moving, it might be easier to do it more like sort of 200mm and then zoom in. But I think you were telling me it's quite a long throw, isn't it, to go from 200 to 500?
You can't do it in one go.
You can't.
Even if I wrap my hand right round the other side, that's, I'd have to do at least 2 times to get it all the way out.
Which is a little bit of a...
You can't do it. But saying that, I've only ever shot a photograph at 500mm. Yeah. I haven't used it any less than that because I've been doing birds mostly. I'm never
so you should have got that 500 5.6 PF lens.
But that's okay. I mean, for the lens price, I'm really happy with the results. I mean, incredible for this 2015 lens that is almost as sharp when you're pixel peeping as a new 70-200 Z. That's impressive.
Don't you try and compare it to my 70-200 200mm.
Yeah, with our sharpness tests, we've had to pixel peep more than 150% to actually see any difference, and therefore there aren't really any differences. I mean, if I'm trying to find sharpness at that kind of level, it means
practically they're the same.
They're the same.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I got the 5.6 f because there was a Sigma 150 to 600, 6.3.
Oh, 6.3 is it?
I need in this country, in this light, I need all the light gathering
all the
as
help
possible.
You can get. So the big question is, does it get your stamp of approval?
It definitely gets my stamp of approval. Like I said, it's better than I thought it would be. For an old lens. I can see why they're still selling it. I mean, you've used it a bit. Does it get your stamp of approval?
I couldn't lift it up and carry it for long enough to find that. Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, I was impressed how sharp it was.
But yeah, so when the 200 to 600 comes out, it'll be interesting to see the price and the quality difference from this. Yeah. Obviously, it'll be probably sharper, and it's an extra 100mm on it. Yeah. But I don't think I'll be trading this in for that. I really don't. No. Unless it's extremely sharper. But yes, do you have this lens? Have you found any experiences with it that different from mine, or any advice? I'd be grateful to hear.